Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Beleaf Podcast. Just what the world needed, another podcast. This is going to be a podcast about the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this podcast will likely include some nuanced takes, maybe some outlandish ones, but we're hoping this podcast can provide some more insight than some of the other podcasts that we see on the internet. I'm Aldo. I'm joined by Gotham and Talha, and this podcast tries will try to bridge the gap between analytics and the eye test. Some of us are more analytically inclined. Some of us are more eye test inclined. So this podcast will try to become something that we don't really see too often, and that's basically it.
And with that being said, let's get into the big news. Chris Tanev will probably become a Leaf by July 1st. So let's talk about it. Chris Tanev, we all know what he is, an elite defensive D-man, but that contract is probably 6 to 7 years at a low AAV. What do you guys think about that?
Listen, I think it's a great deal. I'm going to be honest. It makes sense. You know what I mean? Listen, at the end of the day, Chris Tanem's what, as of right now, at worst, a top three defensive defenseman in the game. At worst, like how many guys are better than him, right? So the Leafs are trying to get a guy right now that they know for the next year or two they can depend on as in a shutdown role. And then after that, you just, you say thanks for a good career. You throw him on LTIR. That's the hope here.
I'm afraid that isn't as nuanced as I would like it to be. Um, Chris Tanev, all right. So Chris Tanev, I think profiles as an elite shutdown guy. I saw a tweet by Dom earlier. Dom was talking about how elite he was against Eichel and McKinnon. I think against McKinnon, McKinnon was left to like one even strength goal for. So I believe Tanev is a good shutdown defenseman that will be good, or that will be at least better than what we saw this season. And let me be honest, this was probably the worst Leafs decor in a while. Um, but at the same time, Chris Tanev is also 34, pretty old. We just saw TJ Brody's unexpected decline after being
Very
a
true.
very very good defenseman for the last 2 years, and Brody unexpectedly fell off. I think some of it could be attributed to his mental health issues. He lost his dad early. I believe his wife went through cancer. So I think
She
there's
has
definitely
MS. Yeah.
MS. My bad. I believe so. I think there was a mental component there as well, but also Brody is 33. He's also getting around to that age where you start losing the peak of your powers. So with Tanev, it's you're just kind of praying every year he doesn't turn into Brody. And if he does turn into Brody one year, then you're stuck in the same position as you were when Bradshaw Living came in, uh, and you're stuck looking for another partner beside Morgan Riley.
I think even with that though, it all depends on the AAV they get on this guy. Like, if they get him down to what, 3 million, like that's okay. If he ends up falling off one year and you throw him in a third pair role, in a couple years' time, 3 million is bottom pair money. And so if he's making that 3 years down the line to be on your third pair,
I
That
you
is a
should be
good
okay
definitely,
with
point.
that.
I definitely agree with that. I think that's a good point. I think, yeah, I think the big sticking point to me is whether the AAV is going to be below 4, because I believe Dreger reported they're going to go 7 years with him, so the max term on what they can realistically do.
Yeah.
Um, if
For
the
me,
AAV is below 4, then I can get behind it. But I, I don't know, man. It's just like guys like Tanev. Tanev has been a warrior throughout his entire career. He's always like bucked the trend. Like he's fought against odds at every stage of his career, and he's become a very, 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 very good defenseman. But father time comes for us all. It really does.
yeah, you
So
guys can relate for
this
sure.
this is a major, major, major bet by Bradshaw Living that one, Chris Tanev can be father time and enough for this window at least, because the way I see it, the Leafs are working within a 4-year window right now for Austin Matthews.
I,
So
well,
go
I
ahead,
mean,
go
I
ahead.
I agree with that, but I don't even think they're betting against Father Time. I think they're acknowledging it's gonna come for him. They just want to get 1 or 2 years of him being so much better than his AAV that they can contend and do well those next couple years. And then, okay, maybe he falls off and you deal with that 3 mil for a year or two, and then you LTIR him.
All right, look, with Tanev, it's pretty obvious what they're doing here. As Delha said, they are going to LTIR him. They're sending him straight to Robida Island. Now, when it comes to the actual price, for me, it needs to be between 3 million to 3.5 million to be actually worth it. If it's anything above 4, it's it's insane. Because you
I
can
agree.
probably get that on a 4-year deal, in my opinion.
Can't wait till the next CBA comes up where they outlaw the exact thing they're about to do here. Despite all of
And
Vegas and stuff, everyone's gonna be like, "Look at what the Leafs are doing."
now, one upside of this is Tanev won't be 35 on July 1st. So if he retires during the contract, the Leafs do
Oh
not
yeah,
gonna get a cap penalty. So you have
would they
a lot
would
of
they get a
incentive here.
would they get a cap penalty if Ruiz retired?
Yes.
Oh
Oh,
man.
thanks, Bradshaw
Wow.
Living.
Great
I
Love
stuff.
you,
believe
Bradshaw
so.
Living. Great stuff, Bradshaw Living.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Um,
going back to the point of Tree Living here, he's been going after Tanev since what? Since he was probably hired, right? Like I'm assuming he inquired
he,
around draft time last year.
he
Like
was, he was,
he's
yeah.
he wants his guys. It's pretty obvious, and that leads me to my next point. He got Tanev at what some would say is an insane deal, like a 34-year-old getting a 7-year deal. It's honestly in today's NHL, it's pretty unheard of. I guess you could say 10 years ago it happened with like Hosta and Kovalchuk and stuff, but I can't remember the last time this has happened.
I mean,
Um,
it's the same principle, right? Like lower AAV and just give insane years.
I mean, but
yeah,
Kovalchuk and Hossa were superstars in their prime.
yeah.
We're giving a 34-year-old who might decline the first year of his deal.
Yeah,
With
that's the risk. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I think they want to make other big moves, and you don't want to give Tanev 5 mil for
listen,
Yeah.
like you.
I
Speaking
think
of
he
other
just wants
big
his
moves,
guy.
speaking of other big moves, the Leafs have once again been linked to Nikita Zadorov. Now, I have been a
Oh yes.
staunch advocate that they should not sign Nikita Zadorov. And it was looking really good for the month of June. I was pretty excited. I'm like, hey, listen, he's probably going to re-sign with Vancouver. He really likes it. But Darren Dreger reported last night, and he also reported today, that Zadorov turned down $5 million in Vancouver, and
Oh
he's
my
going to the open
God.
market. Dreger also reported that Boston and Toronto will likely be the two teams jockeying for his services. Um, what do you guys think about Nikita Zadorov? He's a very mixed player on Twitter. At least I see loads and loads of takes about him. There are the Leaf boomers who love him, and then there are the more stats-driven accounts that say, "Hey, this guy
The
is a really good
nerds.
third pair." Yeah, they say he's a really good third pairing defenseman, but the fit in Vancouver was probably the most ideal for him, and in Toronto, you don't know what you're getting. So,
All
what
right.
do you guys thoughts on Nikita Zadorov in Toronto and the potential contract? Because this is a guy Brad Living has wanted for a while.
Awesome, take it away.
All right. As I said before, Brad Treliving, he gets his guys. All right. He got Chris Tanev. He got Craig Berube. He wants his guys no matter what. And Nikita Zadorov is a Brad Treliving guy. He's been trying to get him probably for a year as well, like just like Tanev. And look, Zadorov, in my opinion, I think he's a bit overhated by the calculator
You
Cowboys
know,
here.
he's been
Yeah,
converted. He's been converted.
Listen, Zadorov, he's not that bad. Okay? He's pretty good in transition too. That's the thing. But Zadorov, my issue is obviously the contract. If it was like 4 to 4.5 million, I wouldn't mind him that much. But 5.5 is insane. And obviously Zadorov, like he plays a style that Craig Ruby probably wants to play, a style that Mike Van Ryn wants to play. Like Mike Van Ryn, obviously he plays man-to-man defense, right? And Zadorov, what is he? He's a big guy, a physical guy, down low, man-to-man. He can get guys off the puck. That's what they're going for in the playoffs, in my opinion. And you can see it because they did that with Ilya Lyubushkin and Joel Edmondson. They got big guys, big, strong, physical guys who can knock guys off pucks and win puck battles down low. That's what they want. So Zadorov, in my opinion, he's a fit for the system they're trying to play, but cap-wise, I do not think it's worth it. Like I'm assuming he gets at least $5.5 million either from Nashville or Boston.
Yeah, honestly, I agree on that. The player itself, I like the player. I mean, he a good fit for Toronto. He's big, he's physical, he's a bit of a pest, a bit of a bully kind of guy. And you want those guys on the Leafs, but he's he's that tweener where he's a number four, but then he's not consistent enough to be a number four, so he ends up being a
Yes,
bottom pair guy.
exactly,
Mm,
exactly.
And so you
So,
just, yeah, what was
so the way I see Zadorov is exactly right. He's a tweener. He can either be a very super soldier third pairing defenseman who eats up his minutes, plays very well, and then once you put him in the top four, he kind of struggles. He's not as quick to pick up deception from opponents who are much better with the puck. I think Zadorov. I think a lot of this recency bias comes from his playoffs where he played very well.
yes, he
Admittedly,
did.
he played very well. I also think Vancouver was really the dream fit. I think in Vancouver he was given a good partner, um, and also I think in Vancouver Rick Tocchet's system, the way they play defense, the way they operate in the neutral zone, how they play the neutral zone coverage and their defense.
Mm.
I think that was optimal for Zadorov. It allowed him to cook. In Toronto, however,
Mm.
Mike Van Ryan, big, not a lot of words to say about Mike Van Ryan and what he subjected me to watch this year. Um, but I think with Zadorov, the issue is that I want three left-handed defensemen and three right-handed defensemen. I do not want to
Mm.
play any more of this uh, one right-handed defenseman, five left-handed defenseman type of hockey. Especially in the playoffs, it's very hard to play on your offside. I think we saw, especially with Jake McCabe, McCabe had a
Yeah.
tough time adjusting to the offside in his playoffs, where space gets taken away easier. It's it's a lot harder to move along the boards, especially
Yeah.
on your backhand on your offside.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I think I see the vision the Leafs are trying to create, where it's Riley Tanev, and then you have Zadorov with McCabe. But I think it's time we play three left-handed defensemen, three right-handed defensemen, and if Zadorov is going to be on your third pair, because I think McCabe is better than Zadorov, um, I don't really want to be paying $5.5 million for that. I think also we also suffer a bit of highlight bias with Zadorov. Like we see a lot of good highlights from
I
Zadorov,
do
but
agree.
I think Zadorov. I really honed in on watching him during the regular season with Vancouver. There are really some times where he makes really bad decisions with the puck. I think Zadorov also gets caught puck watching a lot, loses his man in coverage. I also think Zadorov takes really dumb penalties sometimes, and for a Leafs team that was very bad at killing penalties last year, I don't think they need that. I see the qualities Zadorov can bring. He is a big body. He can move the puck effectively, which is something I have been screaming for
Mm.
forever now. I think all three of us have been very, very huge
Yes,
on
we
that.
have.
That the Leafs need better puck movers. And Zadorov is genuinely a good puck mover. He has a bomb from the point, but I also see the downside with Zadorov where I think the Leafs also need to get more intelligent on the blue line. Um, especially if they're going to keep putting Riley as especially if they're going to keep trotting out Riley as the number one defenseman, especially with Jake McCabe. I think they need more intelligent defensemen. Not to say that Zadorov isn't intelligent. I think they just need to target better players, which is why I would not be mad if they signed Zadorov. I'm so worried about that contract. That contract is going to be brutal because listen, man, $5 million for Nikita Zadorov is already a big amount, and he said no to that. He's willing to go to market.
Five
So
and a half is probably what it's going to take to get him. And I agree.
Dreiger heard he might get six.
That's
I mean,
insane.
the thing, it all comes down to whether they believe the top four that he played in Vancouver was just a blip or was it what he actually is. Realistically, it's a blip.
I
Now,
mean, was
do
he
I want
playing? What was he playing in Calgary? I'm gonna check this really quick. Was he playing bottom pairing minutes in Calgary?
Okay,
Was he playing top?
in 2022, when Calgary was really, really good, like they were like the 1 or 2 seed, I think the 2 seed. He was with Goodbranson on a third
Yeah, he
pair.
was the third pair. Yeah.
But like, see, like that's the issue with him. Like, I think Vancouver was really the optimal fit for him, and I think on Boston, if I were to hypothesize him to Boston, I think with Boston, I think it could work on Boston, but at the same time, Boston was really more of a goalie please save us kind of team than they were
Yeah,
actually good at stopping break-ins and
definitely.
transition and cycle stuff. They were really good against the Leafs, but at the same time, the Leafs had no offense. So,
Yeah, the
As
Leafs kind of
usual.
stink in transition. It's not tough to beat them
yeah, the
there.
Leafs got not to throw it back to the playoffs, but the Leafs got cooked in transition every single game by the Bruins. And Corey Schneider did some really good tracking where the Leafs were routinely outshot, outchanced. Boston always led break-ins on transition. It was really weird because Toronto was an elite transition team the entire year, but you know.
The
But
book's
back to
out on them.
Zadorov.
It's easy to beat on. It's easy to beat them.
Back to Zadorov. I think Zadorov, good player, bad contract is my determination.
Yeah, in a cap world, you
can't sign
do
that,
it.
especially if Matt Roy is out there.
Yes,
He,
he is my number one target right now.
Here's the issue though. So I guess we're transitioning more into people we want. Matt Roy would be great. I want Matt Roy. But now we get Matt Roy. You already have Chris Tanev. Tanev's here.
Mm.
Where is the offense? Like we're relying on Morgan Riley to be the only significant offensive threat. And we're
You
gonna
don't
keep doing this.
you don't believe in superstar Oliver Ekman-Larsson?
Oh Lord.
Speaking of Oliver Ekman-Larsson, sorry for cutting you off. The Leafs have also been rumored to be interested in him. I believe Friedman and Dreger corroborated this today, that Ekman-Larsson is on the radar. Now,
Yes,
I
it is.
sent Ekman-Larsson's RPM in our chat a while ago. Ekman-Larsson profiled well this year, but I really think, I can't believe I'm saying this in 2024. I believe Ekman-Larsson was a Maurice Merchant. But
Oh my God.
I think
I
I
can't
agree.
believe I'm saying that, but I believe Ekman-Larsson was a Maurice Merchant this year. Do I believe Ekman-Larsson can replicate this in Toronto? No.
And why is that? Why do you think
bigger
he can't? Why do you think he can't repeat it in Toronto?
and his terrorist system. If you look at it, if to give a quick segue on Mike Van Ryn and why all of us hate him, Mike Van Ryn likes to play man-to-man defense, and in the later years of St. Louis's, in the later years when he was around St. Louis's defense faltered very, very, very hard.
Colton Parayko especially.
Primarily due to Mike Van Ryn's man-to-man defense, and now man-to-man. Just for like a quick intro into man-to-man and schematic. Man-to-man requires you to be constantly switching, constantly paying attention to who you're covering. It's very easy for players, especially players who aren't highly intelligent or able to quickly identify their man. It's very easy to get lost in coverage, and we saw that a lot with Toronto this year, especially in the regular season, where the Leafs players got confused on who to take, who's taking the net front guy. Often down low, it became 2-on-1 situations where the goaltender didn't have much of a chance, depending on what the read was. I know early in the season when Samsonov was struggling a lot, we talked about how Samsonov wasn't good at all, but there were a lot of plays where the Leafs defensemen just made very, very bizarre reads, and it really didn't look like they were comfortable with the system, and it never really looked like they were comfortable with it at all. That's why a lot of teams have been switching to zone now. Zone allows defensemen and it allows forwards to be able to be more comfortable. It allows them to be able to make quicker reads. There's a really good article on The Athletic. I would recommend anyone to read it. It's on why teams have been shifting away from man-to-man and going more into zone coverage. But back to Oliver Ekman-Larsson, I think Florida plays a very aggressive and very, I wouldn't say demanding, but they're an aggressive defensive team. They always want to take you off the puck. They don't want to allow the cycle.
They're very intense.
They're very intense. I think on Toronto, The bigger issue I have with Oliver Ekman-Larsson is why would you sign Benoit if you want Oliver Ekman-Larsson? I tried hypothesizing Oliver Ekman-Larsson on the right, but he doesn't have that many instances of playing on the right side in his career. You have Simone Benoit at like 1.35, is it?
Yes, that's
Um,
correct.
so
Just it doesn't.
my
Yeah, it
issue
doesn't make sense.
becomes like, are you going to pay Benoit to be a $1.3 million seventh defenseman? Like if the idea is to sell high on Benoit, then sure, I'm all for it. I've been advocating to sell high on Benoit. I think there's a cap there where he's like a number 6, and then eventually he gets pushed out like Liljegren does every year.
Yeah, those are all good points. As Doha said earlier today, we do have a positional logjam right now. We do have three left-handed defensemen,
And they're all
McCabe,
good.
Riley, Benoit. Yeah, they're
They're
good.
all
I like
good.
Benoit. I honestly like Benoit. Doha, what are your thoughts on OEL?
I mean, it's the issue that we mentioned here. It's where do you play him? Like, I don't think he's gonna play right side. I don't think he has a lot of experience, like Adil said there. So you can't throw him 3 RD. McCabe has 2 LD, Riley's 1 LD, Benoit's 3 LD. There's no real spot for him here.
Also,
So while the
what does
so
that
the
contract look like? What are they going to
OEL,
pay him?
Like
yeah,
3x3, I'd guess. 3.5x3,
Three
something like that.
million?
that's too
Excuse
much.
me.
That's way too much for him.
That's where I
He
think it'd be.
It's like the way these targets come out. It really just sounds like Brad Treliving just like throws the dart to the wall and is like, I want that guy today. I'm gonna leak it.
I think he's just in on everyone, right? Like, I think the reality is he contacts everyone. He's known for it. But the recurring name
But you
we've
can't
heard,
tamper right now.
the
This is
recurring name,
tampering then.
I know, but the recurring names we've heard, Tanev's a
OEL
go.
was linked to the Leafs last year as well.
I remember that they did want Oriel. That
Yes.
was when he was coming off of his Vancouver time where his
Yeah.
stock was at an all-time low.
Well, that was the time to buy him, right? You gotta
Yes.
buy these
I think
guys.
he's a Maurice Merchant, man. Same thing with Montour. I would stay away from Montour.
Yeah, the man
I
tour.
don't know what it is. I don't know what Paul Maurice has done. It's just the system they play, aggressive all the time, ultra aggressive, making sure. It's also Bill Zito. Bill Zito is very good at identifying players that would work well within their system. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for Bradshaw living in this free agency. Is like, okay, which players can realistically survive in this Berube, Mike Van Ryn, Mark Savard bench? Um, I haven't looked too deep into Berube's tactics, into Berube's philosophy. I know everyone brings up the north-south style. Um, I don't think Keith was too east-west, but they did incorporate a lot of east-west play, so we'll see how they look north-south. The issue with me is that they don't have a lot of strong skaters to play
Yes.
north-south. Nylander, I think, would do very well in this north-south. Matthews,
Marner.
I don't know. Like Marner's speed was down last year. I don't know if you guys looked at the NHL Edge
I
tracking.
think that was I don't
Um,
know why that happened. I don't expect that to continue. Like, this guy's 27. His speed just didn't fall off a cliff for no reason with no injuries.
I agree that there's the NHL Edge tracking last year, which proved he lost a lot of speed, wasn't using his speed a lot. Tavares is like Tavares. I don't think Tavares could move next year. Playing north south.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
my issue is they just don't have a lot of strong skaters, which is why I would like to reshape the bottom six. Pontus Holmberg, I love you, buddy. You cannot be my third line center anymore. That was something. But on Oliver Ekman-Larsson, it's just a fit. It's just I don't understand what the plan is if Benoit is going to be a seventh defenseman at 1.35.
Also, where does
have
the
Connor
cap come
Timmins there.
from? Because we're assuming if we get OEL, we're assuming we're getting three defensemen. Let's say OEL comes here at like 3 million.
But
Tanev
Liljegren
at
is
like
gone, right?
3.5. Yeah, Lilligren is
Like
100% gone
listen,
if this is the case, yes. But who would the other
Timothy
defenseman
Liljegren,
be?
man. I've been defending that man for God knows how long.
I can't
Very
believe he let me
heartbreaking.
down.
Very heartbreaking. He was so good to start the year. So. He was genuinely the only reason that Decor was staying afloat. And then Brad Marchand injured him. Never really got it back after that. Actually, no, he had that extended run on the power play where the power play went like 50% in a month or something.
When Riley
And
got
then,
suspended, right? And
yeah,
Marner got
and
hurt, I
then they
think.
never tried him
Yeah.
on the power play again.
Yeah, very
Uh,
odd decision by Sheldon Keefe.
I
Thank
think
God
they
he's
did try.
gone.
I think they did try him a couple times, and then the power play scored when he was on it, and then they just went back to Riley. So, I mean, that's a different point for another day. But on Oliver
Yeah.
Ekman-Larsson, my final thoughts are: fit doesn't really make sense unless they sell high on Benoit, and then at the same time, is he cooked? Like, was that like a one-off year in a very good system that Florida played?
Yeah. So okay, if we can name two guys we want the Leafs to go for, who do you guys want?
Other than Chris
Defenseman, or
Tanev,
just
right?
forwards?
Yeah, well, we're not including Tanev. Tanev signed.
Okay.
Like, let's just assume he's being signed.
Are we doing
It's
forwards as well, or are we just doing defenseman?
that's I mean both.
Okay. Um, does it have to be realistic, or can it be whoever I want?
I'd say realistic
Yeah,
because
let's keep
I
it
mean we got a
semi-realistic.
pretty
No
good
Victor
idea of
Arvidsson,
who
my
these guys
bad.
are
No Victor
targeting.
Arvidsson.
Yeah. He's a Carolina Hurricane, by the way, or Edmonton
Who?
anyway.
I heard Edmonton. I heard Edmonton's like
Arvidsson.
really in on him.
Yeah.
I've seen Edmonton will be very in on him. Okay, so defenseman, obviously Matt Roy. I would love Matt Roy. Um, I think he actually. I'm gonna go Sean Walker.
Yeah, that
The
was
Leafs
my
need
yeah.
the Leafs
Same.
need some offense from the blue line. Sean Walker was a Jack Johnson victim. I know a lot of people soured on him from his last playoff run with Colorado. I encourage people to look at who he was playing with. Not the greatest player in the world. And then I encourage people to look at the minuscule time he spent away from him, and he was very good in it. He was very good in Philadelphia. I think I think Walker would be a better fit with Riley than Tanev. Um, Walker provides offense from the blue line. He's very mobile. He's very good in transition. His defensive data was pretty good as well. When I watch Walker, I see a defenseman that can take the burden off of Riley. For I'm not the biggest Riley fan in the world. I've made that very clear in my previous statements about him. But at the same time, I do acknowledge that we put a lot of burden on him to pretty much handle everything offense. And
Yeah.
I think pairing him with someone that can take the load off of him, take the burden off of him, will actually like open up his game much more. It's like how I'm not gonna compare Morgan Riley to Quinn Hughes, but I think stylistically, when they paired Hronik with Hughes, it really helped Hughes open up his game more and take burden off of him.
That is true. Yeah, I think Canucks fans would agree with you. Hughes has had many partners throughout his career. Luke Shen last year, obviously, also a partner of Morgan Riley, and his game really elevated when Hronik was right next to him. And really, it's just like guys aren't, dumping the puck with your D zone, your partners onto your partner's stick, right? Like we talk
Mm-hmm.
about this a lot in the playoffs. Like in 2019, what did they do with Riley Hainsey? They dumped it to Hainsey's side, right? So Morgan
Look at what
Riley, like, yeah,
look at what they did to Benoit in this playoffs. No one wants to talk
yeah,
about how Benoit was Zaitsev in this playoffs, and McCabe didn't
yeah,
have much of an option. It's
yeah,
it's. I know people love physicality, people love grip, people love hits, but at the end of the day, you need defensemen that can play hockey, defensemen that can move the puck. I just watched the Stanley Cup final where Evan Bouchard and Matthias Ekholm were making insane plays coming out of their end. I watched Florida with Gus Forsling.
yeah. And
Even
that brings
Nico,
me to my next point. Yeah,
even
Mikkola was
Nico,
good too.
even Nico Mikkola can make some plays coming
Yeah,
out of his own zone.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
We
brings me
Nico
to
need
my
Mikola,
next
boys.
point. Yeah.
We're
what?
we're gonna highlight Nico Mikola, guys.
I mean,
I
listen, no one wants to talk about how Aaron Alstott is completely washed at the sport of hockey. He got cooked every time McDavid was out there.
Yeah, that's another point. But yeah, I mean, Sean Walker, he's my top guy too, to be honest. I'd love Matt Roy, but Chris Tanev kind of fills the Matt Roy position. Like,
mm,
I don't know what the pairings would be. Like you could probably just run Riley, Tanev, McCabe, Roy. But yeah, you're stuck back in the situation where Riley does everything. If you get Sean Walker, or maybe you go cheaper and get you an Alex Carrier,
Exactly. Yes, he was
yes,
my next
Carrier is
thing.
a really good one. Yeah.
yeah, you get those kind of guys who can work with Mo. And I mean, although you mentioned this in the chat one time, I cooked him for saying Makar, but theoretically, it can be our, and this is stylistically, not in terms of talent, our Makar Taves kind of pair, where they just have insane mobility and complement each other. Of course, Morgan Riley's not a kill Makar, but on the end where you just have two guys who can bail each other out and let each other take risks, it's a pretty solid pair.
He has not killed Makar after being outplayed by Uri Labushkin.
Bro, it's just one bad series, man.
Yeah, I mean he's a career what? His playoff production's like top 10, I think, in
Usually
points
a
per game.
career riser in the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
Playoff
he's
riser, yeah.
It could be a sign of decline, is all I'm saying.
I think it's just sign of being surrounded by mid players.
yeah.
Ilya Labushkin, Joel Edmondson, who else? Simon Benoit. I mean, listen, all those guys are cool. In a vacuum, I like them as like third pair defenders, but
They're
three of
not
them
cool.
on the same team, three of them
I
on the
did,
same team is so insane, so
I did
redundant.
not enjoy watching this team. Listen, I did not enjoy watching this team at all besides Matthews. I'll be honest. This team was so bad. It was. And
Well, if we don't like last year's team, enjoy this year's when it's getting run back again.
Yeah,
but they can create a good team this year if Bradshaw Living
they definitely
use his
can,
brain.
but like to your guys' point, it's just cap space, really. We have two specific cardio merchants in the bottom six. One was a Brad Tree Living signing, and one was a Kyle Dubas signing. Callie
Respect
Yarncrook and
Cali
David.
Yarncroc. Respect
Bro,
Cali Yarncroc.
he has 5
I
playoff goals in like 90 playoff. Do you know how hard that is? It's insane.
listen, Cali
He's
Yarncroc. I agree. There's been some playoff disappearances from him here, but he PKs. He wins his minutes. I think if
$2.1 million.
Cali Yarncroc is a fourth liner, I think it would be a
I
lot
mean,
better.
if he's making like league min to like 1 million, 1.5 million, like it's okay. Like
But at the
I see
same
the
time, like
value
I
in
was
that.
playing with Pontus Holmberg, man. Like who decided Pontus Holmberg
Bro,
was third line center?
he was playing with Matthews last year, was he not?
Hey,
He had one
that was
goal, and
wrist
that was the Mickey Mouse goal in game one versus Tampa, where we
that was
lost
wrist injury
7.
Matthews.
Seventh,
That was
that was the
wrist injury
7-3 goal.
Matthews.
Yeah,
That was
okay.
wrist injury Matthews. Chill out.
Here we go.
That was wrist injury Matthews. Like he was injured.
Okay.
He was injured. He
Okay,
couldn't
Costa,
shoot.
who's one guy you want the Leafs to target?
I also want Sean Walker, but I think Matt Roy. I think Chris Tanev is done in 2 years. So I'm kind of thinking long term here. I think Chris Tanev is done in 2 to 3 years. We're gonna be back in the same position again, where we need a long-term defensive defenseman who can play next to Riley. Already have a built-in replacement for him with Matois, so I go Matois. I do see you guys' point with Sean Walker and relieving the burden off Morgan Riley. I really do, but I don't know, just I don't like the complexion of the team right now with even with Walker. I feel like we're still pretty light defensively. Like
Oh my god,
McCabe,
this boomer.
it's not, okay, maybe it is a boomer take, but
It's a boomer thing.
listen,
I mean,
we saw the Leafs
Give
defend
me
their
Phil,
butts
give me
off.
fire, give me
Gives
5'11" defenseman or I retire.
I think, listen, if we shine Walker, you get your first pair like Riley Walker, right? And then you get the shutdown being McCabe Tanev. And then you get a third pair of Benoit Liljegren. I think that's a fine defensive core.
Liljegren's gone, man. I think they're gonna sign Desharnais.
I think Darren
I'd
would
rather
be
not. I'd rather
not
not.
good.
I mean,
Liljegren's
he's
gone,
actually
brother.
okay. Desharnais is actually not bad
I think it
in
was
a
a Mickey
third
Mouse year.
pair
I can't lie.
this year.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was actually not bad. It was pretty interesting. So
I think it was a Mickey Mouse year. Like I don't know.
I know it might be, but
Anytime
especially
I remember Edmonton fans saying anytime he got put in the top four, he got cooked.
yeah, but I don't think they'd sign him to put him top four. You'd sign him to be a third pair.
But
It's
he
just
wants like a
Ben.
7-year deal. Like he wants like a Scott Mayfield contract, I
He
think.
wants
Like
7 years.
I think so. I think so. That's what I read a long time ago. I'm not sure if it's still true, but that's what I heard. All right.
Someone needs to tell this brother what he is. He's closer to being out of the NHL than getting 7 years.
That's very true. We got about 90 seconds left, so in conclusion, Adil, any final thoughts about this whole Tanev situation, Zadorov, etc.?
Very scared for what's about to happen. I was feeling really good about the Leafs free agency, especially since Matt Roy got connected a lot. And then Zadorov didn't sign in Vancouver. And I was like, oh shit. But we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back and we'll continue to preview the Leafs free agency even more and we'll talk a bit about the draft. Anything else, guys?
So, anything you want to add about
Nope.
Tanev? No?
That's good.
Okay. Oh.
Welcome back, everyone. I think we wanted to touch a bit more on Chris Tanev. With Tanev, I think there was a bit of uncertainty towards the situation, and I think we really wanted to touch upon it more because listen, like Chris Tanev, 34, 6-year deal is being reported by Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts. Chris Tanev,
Yeah,
I am very
Chris
scared for
Tanev.
this deal. If Chris Tanev is TJ is fall down TJ Brody year one, I think we might be cooked. He will play with
Yeah,
Morgan Riley, despite the fact I would like someone better offensively with Riley, but alas.
Yeah.
The cycle continues of pretending Morgan Riley needs a babysitter.
to be fair, he turned into arguably, he turned into an elite two-way superstar with Luke Shen on his right side.
I
Very
think that was
true.
a Mickey Mouse run. I can't lie. That was the biggest Mickey Mouse run of my life. Luke Shen went right back to being bad.
I mean, well, Chris Tanev is good, ideally.
I agree.
So,
Chris Tanev is good. I just want to see Riley unlocked with someone that knows how to like. Okay, the thing with Chris Tanev is an elite defensive defenseman. We understand this. Chris Tanev is a very good defensively. Offensively, he's one of those make the safe plays. If he gets the puck at the blue line, he's sending it right back to the boards, or he's sending a shot on net. Nothing dynamic. I would like someone more dynamic with Riley, and that's why I think Sean Walker would be a better fit with Morgan Riley. But at the same time, we can't always get what we want. I did
Yeah,
want to touch
so
upon something. We're gonna play a little game here. We're gonna play a game. It's gonna be, do you want this player back? So there are currently some free agents on the Leafs team. This game we're gonna play is, do you want this player back? So we're gonna start with Tyler Bertuzzi.
yes.
Do you want this player back?
Yes, I do.
yes.
Tyler Bertuzzi, if I can pull up the stats really quick, started the year very slow. I
Very
believe he was
poor.
I believe he was suffering from shooting percentage.
Yeah, he was
Shooting
still
percentage.
generating.
He was
Yeah.
hexed by a witch. I think Money Puck had him, Tavares, and Nylander as one of the best lines in the league in terms of expected goals for. 21 goals, 22 assists, 43 points, plus minus 2. If I want to pull up his Money Puck, which I will now, I think there were rumblings of Tyler Bertuzzi returning on a 3-year deal. Jordan Schmaltz reported that 4.75 times 3.
Great contract, by the way.
Great contract, and then we heard later on from his agent that he's willing to stay for less. He's willing to take less on his next deal. Why do you guys want Tyler Bertuzzi back?
I mean,
Oh, how
the
you
money,
want to take it? Yes.
yeah, the money he's going for. I was under the impression he wanted between 5 to 6 mil for 5 years minimum. But from what we're hearing, he has pretty reasonable expectation, right? He knows he has to take less than he got this year. The Leafs are fighting him on term. They don't want to sign him too long. And so if we can get him down into the range that Jordan Schmaltz reported, 4.75 x3, that's a great price for a winger who we know works with Matthews. He had great numbers with him, works with Marner, worked on a line with Tavares and Nylander, so there's lots of spots you can throw him in, and he'll do well.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything you said. For me, Tyler Bertuzzi, originally when we were down 3-1, I made like a to-do list of what they should and shouldn't do. One of them was to not re-sign Tyler Bertuzzi because I thought he was gonna get an absolute bag thrown at him. Rising cap, Bertuzzi, I feel like he still has that playoff performer label on it because of his Boston run. Thought you get 5.5 times 5, something like that. But as you said, very reasonable contract, 4.75 x3. My main issue is his skating. Tyler Bertuzzi is not really a good skater. I feel like he drains himself pretty quickly, and in the playoffs, his hands were absolutely cooked. This guy could not make a pass. He couldn't receive a pass. Having said that, he was a pretty good net front presence in my opinion. I don't think he was used optimally as well. I think he should have been on power play number one, first of all, in front of the net. That's where he like excelled in Boston. I think he should be there instead of Tavares. That's like another story. Yeah, he works with Matthews, he works with Tavares. I do want to see him on the third line too, maybe at times, but that's another story. But yeah, Adil, how about you?
So I'm pulling it up now. Bertuzzi, Tavares, Nylander. This line played 200 minutes together. They owned 56.5 of the expected goals. They had 20 expected goals for to 15.7 expected goals against, 3.37 expected goals for per 60 minutes, and 2.59 expected goals against per 60 minutes. So this was an elite line for a while. They played 55 games together. I would take Bertuzzi back. I think Bertuzzi is a good player. The fall off could be there, but I also think Bertuzzi's game is also predicated on his Bertuzzi's Bertuzzi's game is predicated on being smart. It's predicated on being able
Intensity.
to decipher where the puck is going, how to anticipate it. He's got a very good stick. I would take Bertuzzi back if the deal is reasonable. I really would. I think if it's under 5 million and the term is under about 4 years, I think I would take Bertuzzi back. Although if he gets the deal somewhere else, I wouldn't be too upset about it.
So your guys' hard line is 4 years. Like anything above 4 years, it's a no-go. So like 5 years,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
gone.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if we give him 5 mil at 4 years, I wouldn't be happy, but I wouldn't be upset. Anything beyond that, I'd rather not do.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Bertuzzi Tavares Nylander line played 363 minutes together.
Do you
So
think
it's
that
a
might have
good sample size.
do you think they may have been, like that elite because Nylander was like a superstar until his
I think Bertuzzi
contract is
complemented
signed?
Tavares very well.
I agree with that.
I think
Yeah, Bertuzzi was good
Tavares is a
defensively.
bit underrated in Leafland right now. I think if his shooting percentage comes around next year, he'll be well regarded again. I think he was very unlucky this year, playoff wise. The points weren't there, but I think he was thrown into a matchup role against Pastrnak, and he did a good job against Pastrnak. Pastrnak was largely ineffective against the series or in the series.
Until
Yeah.
Listen. Your superstar number one defenseman stood in the middle of the ice while Pastrnak was streaking in, and then
he got caught on his back foot. Okay, like
game
that's more on
7
Marner in my
started,
opinion.
and
Oh yeah, and him. I
well,
hate
no,
that
like
guy.
okay, uh, that play is tough. That play is tough because I think Marner peels off. He's going to take the defenseman who's about to come in, right? It's up to Riley to figure out that Pastrnak is coming in so he can take the angle away, but then Riley doesn't do that. And then Samsonov doesn't poke.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is on Samsonov. To your point, it was a perfect play. Everything about it was
That really
perfect.
was a perfect play. That really was a perfect play, yeah.
Pastrnak took off at the perfect time. Lindholm bounced it off the board at the perfect time. Samsonov, for some reason, didn't poke, even though that's goaltending 101. You probably even yelled, poke Sammy, but I don't know, man. I don't put it on Riley. Like, he got caught on his back foot. He just got caught off guard by it, and yeah.
There's blame to go around for everyone. It's also a perfect play that was executed perfectly.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Credit to
We
Boston.
move on from it.
Let's move on. Okay, here, let's go on our next player.
Oh,
Very, very hot player, especially amongst
Max
us three. Yes, Max Domi.
Domi is the next player I wanted to highlight. Do you want Max Domi back?
Okay. Now.
All right, the super fan's about to speak.
So depending on the price, with a lot of these guys, I'm not against it. You give them like 4x4 is the top end. We can get him down to 3.5x4. I'll hit it. He's not bad. I mean, he's a good player. He gets you 40 to 50 points a year. He works with Marner, who worked with Matthews. We got him on different lines he can complement. He's a bit of a pest. Obviously, game one of the series against Boston, it got too heavy. He leaned too much into it. But after that, he did really well. He's one of our best playoff players. Um, I think he'd be fine. Yeah, so I'd
Adil,
keep him depending on the price.
Adil, do you want to respond to the playoff player
The
claim?
Lord has granted me the right. The
I know
Lord has
you're
granted
dying.
me the right to speak about this player. Max Domi can kick rocks. I agree Max Domi has some usefulness. I think he is a very good playmaker. He's probably one of the best pure passers I've ever seen. Here's my thing. Max Domi needs such insanely specialized usage. I really don't know where this versatility talk came from, where we tried him in all these different positions. They were abandoned after a while because it didn't work. I know people keep saying he can play center, but we tried him in the third line center last year. You can't play the third line center. You can't play him in the defensive zone. You have to give him all zone starts, which means you take away all zone starts from your top players. We tried that Bertuzzi, Domi, Nylander line, which credit good offensively. They had the defensive ability of me, you, and Costum playing on ice. And largely, a lot of that was due to Domi not being able to track his center, track his man, especially against upper echelon centers. I think about that game against the Rangers where it was Lyubushkin's first game as a Leaf this year, and I think it was the first goal Lafreniere scored where Bertuzzi loses coverage of his man. He ends up screening Samson off, and Lyubushkin was in his proper position, but Max Domi was trying to play Lyubushkin's position. So this versatility talk is very confusing to me. He's not very good at center. You got to give him all zone starts. On the wing, I mean,
the reality
like,
there,
listen,
though,
like Matthew scored 69 goals. I'm not sure this was all because of Max Domi, guys. I think Austin Matthews is pretty good at scoring goals. No team has ever committed to him for a reason in his career. There's too much specialized usage you got to give to him. Too much baggage. I know Dom's rating model had his offense at a +5, but his defense was a -5. So he's essentially providing net neutral impact. The thing, I know people love the last name. People love Domi. I've seen some crazy let him retire as a Leaf kind of stuff, but this is the player I would let someone else overpay. And yeah, I see the value in Max Domi. I just don't see it here.
I mean, okay. Is he going to be your 3C? No, that experiment went and failed. But you can have him in the top 6 either with Marner or with Matthews. At the end of the day, yeah, okay. Matthews didn't score 69 solely because of Max Domi, but Domi provided you with a player for the first time other than Mitch Marner who's able to find Matthews well. Like we've been clamoring for this idea of having Matthews drive his own line. And the best line we've had in Matthews' history that he's driving by himself without any Marner or Nylander was with Domi on the left side. And playmaking wise, it worked. Domi as a 3C did suck there, but if you play him 2C with Marner, can be decent. He's
Yeah, I
also
agree with that.
the Leafs don't have a lot of guys here who can just flip to center if one of Matthews or Tavares get hurt. Domi's someone who can do it and go shift to play with a Marner as center and hold his own. If Matthews or Tavares go down, we're screwed.
Yeah. I thought Pontus Holmberg was an adequate third line center.
Well, he's
Brother,
not
that's
a good
realistic.
second line center. So
Yeah.
Okay. How do I respond to that? Here's what I'll say. Polarizing player, I think He is a confusing player. There is a reason no team has ever committed to him in his career. He's got a bunch of 1-year deals, bunch of 2-year. I think the only multi-year deal he's had was in Montreal.
Columbus, 2 years, I think. 5.3 each. That's it.
Oh yes, it's just that it did happen. My bad. Max Domi did not. I mean, this is the point I wanted to make. I finally remembered. Does any other market ask their stars to drive their own line? I swear, McKinnon plays with Rantanen. McDavid plays with RNH and Hyman, and then if it does not going well, they put Draisaitl up with them. Why is it only in Toronto do we ask our star players to carry a bunch of bombs? Max Domi isn't a bomb, but we put up Pontus Holmberg there. We put up Calle Clark there. I think it's very interesting how we clamor them to drive their own line when the mantra in the league is play your star players with other very good players that can process the game as fast as them.
I think the reason is because playing these good players together gets us jack shit because they put up zeros come playoff time. So now it's like maybe spread it around, get one guy weak competition, he takes care against them.
I mean, but
it ain't like Matthews, Marner,
but what's Max Domi gonna do? What's the difference there? No, Matthews won that game on his own.
Okay,
that pass was elite.
There was that flip pass. There was that
Domi
flip
got
pass.
a 1+1.
There was that flip pass off of Matthews' post.
I mean,
and
someone's got to
off
get
a
the front of the
Domi
net,
pass.
score those greasy goals. Yeah. You see these compliments.
Listen. It's very funny how we have these conversations about Bertuzzi that we did not have about Bunting. Everyone wanted to let Bunting walk. Everyone was like, you got to find the next Bunting. You don't got to pay him. You can find the next Domi. You don't got to pay this one.
I think the Bunting contract ended up being much more fair than I originally anticipated. 4.5 for Bunting, I honestly, at that point, you probably consider keeping him. But
another Bradshaw masterclass.
I mean, Domi did a good job when that role when it mattered most. So
I agree.
Oh my God, he could.
I'm on
the
team
69
depends.
goal scorer.
I'm on team depends, but when it comes to Max Domi, if he gets an insane contract like 4.5 million,
I think you let him walk.
Years.
You say, hey, listen, thank you for your passion.
If he wants 3.5 for like 3 years, would you take him?
I think you say thank you for the passion. Thank you for all your dumb penalties.
Oh my God.
3.5 x3, you will 100% sign him.
Yeah,
you will 100% sign him.
He's making $1 more million.
Guys, why do we think no one's ever committed to him in his career?
Okay, because no one also has the superstars that can complement him that much. Who do you play with in Dallas?
Toronto?
Who's gonna?
We have Austin Matthews. That's what's so good.
Yeah,
and Mitch Marner. I thought in the playoffs that Bertuzzi, Domi, and what was it, Marner line? That was a pretty good line, in my opinion. They were very good. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Boone Jenner in Columbus couldn't carry this guy's line. Like it's just there's different scenarios.
I mean, why didn't they put him with Jason Robertson then? Why didn't they put him with Roope Hintz if he's so good at playing with superstars?
Domi needs very good defensive wingers. Okay, Marner got an elite two-way winger right there. Bertuzzi, he was pretty good defensively with Tavares. Pretty good defensively with Domi and Marner. I agree, you have to like specialize his usage and you have to like put him in a position to succeed. The reason why he failed with Willie and Bert was because
only found him successful with one person though. And
I mean, they just didn't play him much with Marner.
And like he's the worst version of Mitch Marner. He's died Mitch Marner.
Thankfully, he's making 3.5.
Yeah, not
and he doesn't bring the defensive value. He doesn't bring. I think Mitch Marner is a better playmaker than Max Domi. I think he has a better shot than Max Domi. Max Domi is averse to shooting.
I think Domi has a better shot, but he doesn't use it.
We clamor about Mitch shooting. We clamor about Mitch passing too much. What do you think Max Domi does?
Yeah, I mean, those are fair points. Yeah, as you were saying, House.
It all comes down to the salary expectations. You can have a guy who's kind
Seattle. Enjoy Ely Tolvanen. Enjoy Yanni Gord. Not on my team.
Nah, he's a good talent. Leafs. I mean, Leafs need more guys who will go
And
into
then
the
he
fight.
tried to leverage that into a 5x5.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Enjoy Seattle. Good luck with Jaden Schwartz.
And look, as we know right now, Domi wants 4x4 to come back.
And he
Assuming
hasn't been signed. Listen,
uh,
I'll give Brad Treliving credit for one thing. He's not stupid enough to sign the guy to a 4x4.
he's probably gonna work him down to like 3.5 million. I think he'll
I
give him
don't think
4
he's going to
years.
sign. I don't think
But I
he's going
think
to sign, to be honest.
I think if
depends
he's
if we.
not signed after, sorry, what were you saying?
I think if we move on from Cap and like Yarncroc, he'd resign him for sure. We just have no cap right
I
now.
don't think that we were gone from Cap or on Cook either.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But what were you saying, Tolha?
I mean, I think if he's not signed after day one, he'll be a Leaf.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think they'll circle back on day two, get something done at a reasonable deal, and I mean he'll do fine here. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I like Max Domi, honestly. Like I know like Otto like hates this passion stuff. I do like the fact he's passionate about being a Maple Leaf, like wanting to play here, fighting for
He's
his
so
teammates, standing up for
passionate.
them.
He asked them for a 5x5.
It's
That's how
4x4, man.
passionate he is. No,
Okay,
did you
that was a
don't you remember
LeBron
the LeBron
report.
report? Listen,
That was a
listen.
LeBron.
People shot on LeBron for that report, but he was cooking. He knew that was 100% fed by that agent.
I prefer Elliot Friedman over Pierre LeBrun. In my opinion, Pierre LeBrun, he's like a, oh, what do GMs tell me type of guy. Like that's what he kind of does. Like I don't really like go to him for like reports on players specifically ask.
Yeah, I
What
bet he
what
came
we
down
do
from
know,
5x5, and now we got
okay,
4x4.
we're hearing how much he wants to say, so he's taking less money. In any like contract negotiation, you obviously overshoot your ass.
What did he do to deserve a raise?
I agree with that. I don't think he deserves much more than he has right now. I guess in a rising cap, you give him 3.5 to just combat
No,
the rising amount that's going up.
take
But
the
I
same
mean,
amount of money you took last year for another 1 year deal. Kick rocks. No one's committed to him for a reason, fellas. That's all I'm gonna say.
No one
And it's
has had
not.
Austin Matthews,
yeah,
Mitch
what?
Marner, William Nylander on the same team.
And
Yeah,
he
I don't
didn't
really.
work with anyone
He's played
except
with
Austin
bums. He's
Matthews.
played with bums. He's expected
He
to
Wait,
carry
didn't work.
bums.
He did.
he.
He did not work until Game 70 of the regular season.
I mean, we also didn't play him that much with Marner in the regular season. Played one game,
I put that
and it
more
was
in
him
Keith,
and Marner
honestly.
against Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
That was the
yeah.
one game. And then they threw
Also,
him in.
against Detroit, I don't know if you mentioned that. Like the
Oh,
day after he blew a 3-0 lead to Colorado.
uh, oh yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah,
We lost that one too, right?
yeah, we did. It
Yeah.
was Samsonov's first game back. But anyways,
Oh Lord.
yeah, to your point,
Was it Ryan
listen,
Johnson after that one?
No, Samsonov.
no, it's Samsonov. He made a diving poke check, which led
The Leafs.
to
Oh,
game
Detroit. I
goal.
thought you were talking about
Yeah,
Colorado. Sorry.
yeah. That was a horrible game too, by the way. But anyways, Max Domi, very polarizing player. Adil is of course on team, let him walk. Doha and I, we want him, but we don't want him like bad enough. We're willing to give him whatever he wants. So let's leave it at that. We'll revisit this on July 2nd or July 3rd when most of the team has been signed. Go to our next players if you guys want. Let's just quickly go through Ilya Labushkin, Joel Edmondson,
Let's
same
put the
players.
defensemen together.
Walk. All of them walk.
Walk.
of them
Please get off of my team. Thank you for nothing. Labushkin, I hate when people say he was good in the playoffs. Sure, he was good defensively. Couldn't make a pass. Couldn't make a pass. Couldn't create any offense.
For the
Couldn't move
role
a
he was
puck.
brought in for, he was good. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
say
I mean,
that.
Please get
he's-
off of my team.
I
Listen,
don't
you all
think-
played Morgan
I
Riley,
don't-
but that was a low bar.
I don't think we should slander the brother for what he's good at. He was really good. We just
Joel
can't expect-
Edmondson, I hate watching every second of Joel Edmondson. I don't think I hated a player more than Joel Edmondson. I was promised cross checks. I was promised viciousness. I was promised sacrifice. He did none of that. Off of my team, please. Yeah, that's
So,
it. I hate those two
Doha.
players. Please do not return.
Doha, you want to go next?
I mean, listen, I don't think we should hate on these guys for doing things that they're just. I mean, Edmondson, I agree, but Bush, he did what a player of his type is supposed to do. Like he dominated his minutes somehow. You know, like just because he wasn't this great passer or offensive creator, that's not his fault. That's the way the roster was created. He did his job. But of course, I think he's gonna get too much for what we need. We need
For
more
sure.
mobile guys. So you just move off him. You thank him first time.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I'd let both of them walk. Right now, our team is last year's playoff team was very redundant in terms of you had four guys who could barely move the puck, could barely make the first pass. You know, they were supposedly physical, supposedly in the cross check. I liked Bush, honestly. I didn't think he was bad. Um, but yeah, let both of them walk. I think okay, I just said he's like a bit unreliable, but I think LeBron said both they're walking or what? Like the Leafs think they're replaceable? I'm not sure. But yes, they
Yeah,
are replaceable players. That's a good point by whoever said that. They are replaceable players. You can probably get them for a third round pick, the next Ilya Lyubushkin, the next Joel Edmondson, next deadline if you really need it. I doubt we will. And yeah, they weren't put in a position to succeed, in my opinion. A team that needed offensive creativity from your decor, a good first pass, Joel Edmondson, Ilya Lyubushkin, they don't resolve that. So questionable acquisitions at the time. I guess Treliving just wanted to do something rather than nothing. And yeah, that's the end of that for both of them. And who else is left? Martin Jones, whatever. I don't care about Martin Jones. What about you guys?
yeah. I think other than that, we get into the not particularly
Yeah.
eventful players list.
Yeah.
Um,
Quick draft talk. The Leafs drafted pretty big mobile defenseman last night. Although you want to take the lead on that, you were you liked him, right?
I think Aldo said he'll be back. So I mean, we
I'm
can
back.
just. Oh, there we go. Nice.
My bad. Ben Danford didn't really do a lot of OHL stuff this year. I I did watch the OHL finals. Danford, good defenseman. I think he has good instincts. He's very good defensively. Um, puck skills, I think, is a bit underrated. I think he could become more in that sense. I think what you really want from him is to become like a Brett Kulak type of guy. Um,
It's a very good player.
just a guy that can move the puck properly, transport, play well defensively. Don't expect too much offensive out of him, but I think there's underrated puck skills there. I think he could become something.
Yeah, just a quick opinion of mine. I don't know much about the draft. After like the top 15 guys, Ben Danforth, from what I read about him, good first pass, can move the puck decently well. Apparently, he's a very, very good defender. That's what I've heard. And he's a bit feisty. So, this is a defenseman that I think would be perfect for this team if his game translates. And hopefully, we see him in about 4 years. So, draft talk done. Let's go into free agent predictions now. We do have about 10 minutes
Let's
left.
just do a couple. Yeah, let's do a couple of the top guys. Just quick thoughts on where they go. Let's start off with Elias Lindholm.
Leaf.
Boston. Boston, easily.
Does
I
Boston
agree.
sign Lindholm and Zadorov?
See,
I think
I
they
don't know how they make that work.
I think they lose out on Zadorov.
Same to Brad Treliving
Oh
or
no,
Barry
please.
Trotz.
That
Yeah,
means
I
Patrice's
agree.
gonna sign him.
I think
Okay,
Brad Tree's gonna get him.
Steven
Oh
Stamkos, he's hitting
no.
free agency, big
So
one.
are they
Where do
gonna
you,
sign Zadorov and Alvarez Larson?
No, I think
no.
they just get Zadorov. Um,
So Lindholm,
okay, but
Boston?
It did say their interest was real. Oh yeah.
Stamkos is interesting because Tampa now has
I think
16.5 million cap. Theoretically, they can sign Gensel, someone like that, and Stamkos.
no. I think that relationship is burned.
Same.
I don't know.
He's not
I
getting an
think
8-year
Detroit. I
deal.
mean, listen, Detroit. I think that Trouba deal is dead. Jacob Trouba very very hurt over the fact they wanted to trade him. Um,
I guess he didn't get
depressed
the death
apparently.
threats from Rangers fans.
Uh, but I think Steve Eiserman.
Very
I
mid
think
GM, by the way, but that's a conversation for
this is
another
a
time.
conversation for after July 1st. He has a lot of cap, but I think people need to remember that Sider and Raymond need to do contracts this summer, so it's not a lot.
Mm.
It's not as much as people think. So I think he's got to decide between either Truba or Stamkos. I don't think he can get an impact defenseman and an impact forward.
Elliot
I,
Friedman
I
reported today that Nashville's going hard against Stamkos, and
yeah,
Nashville
I
does
I
need
mean,
scoring. I'm going
Stamkos makes
Nashville.
sense. I agree.
Yeah,
I
they got
think that's
capped too.
also seems like a
Stamkos's
place.
5-on-5 scoring has fallen, not as good as he used to be. I don't know if he still
Yep.
takes faceoffs or not.
No, he's a winger.
Yeah,
He's a winger, yeah. I mean,
like a winger, maybe maybe he takes face-offs here and there
I
if it's like a
think
power play.
I think he would
I
have
think something like that.
like I think the biggest question is is the power play stuff real, like actually real? Is he a Kucherov merchant? I don't want to say merchant, but is he a beneficiary of Kucherov's brilliance? Point being in the bumper, Hedman's patience. Like if he goes to Nashville with Ryan O'Reilly sitting in the slot, and I don't know if you guys watched the playoffs, but Nashville's only move on the power play is to try to get the bumper to Ryan O'Reilly. It's the only
Yeah,
thing they ever want to do. They never want to use Forsberg. They never want to use Nyquist. They never want to use Yossi. They only exclusively try to get the puck to Ryan O'Reilly. So I think the biggest question for me is one, will Stamkos's 5-on-5 scoring be able to outweigh his defensive issues? Um, and number two is, will his power play scoring drop off? Because he still has a shot, still an elite shot, but he's not going to be with Kucherov anymore. He's not going to have. Point was really good at sitting in the bumper and being able to turn and give the puck to Stamkos. Um, he's not going to have that anymore. Instead of Braden Point is going to be Ryan O'Reilly. Um, yeah, that's the thing with Steven Stamkos is
yeah.
you're signing it, you're
Very
going to
boom
sign it
bust
for
guy.
money, but will he be worth the big money?
Yeah. Let's go some quick fire here. Jonathan Marchessault. Where do you guys think he's going?
No,
Seattle.
I
Seattle for Doha.
I
What about
heard
you?
Boston.
Hmm.
I heard Boston might be interested there. Um, there were a bunch of hits about him. Uh, I think ultimately I'm gonna go bold here. I think Vegas resigns him.
I'm going Carolina. They're gonna lose Gensel. They probably will want to replace the goals they're gonna lose.
You know,
Marchessault.
Martin Natchez is the who want me guy, and it's like
Yeah. Yeah. No one wants him there.
100% no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Um,
thanks.
Carolina keeps trying to parade that guy like he's a superstar, and no one's falling for it.
Yeah. Very funny. Yeah.
It's
Eric
very funny
Tulsky,
how they
man.
negotiate through the media where it's like where they keep trying to scream, Martin Nature's superstar, elite player. You want this guy so badly, but also like call us up if you really want him. Like let us know.
Yeah. All right. Next, where do we think Tyler Toffoli's going? I'm going Vancouver.
That's a tough one.
That's a real tough one.
You know, that's actually a guy I think Toronto could be interested in.
I
I
don't know
just
if
don't
he'll
think we have the
cap for
money.
that. Yeah.
Apparently, he wants 3 to 4 years.
How much money do the
Mm,
Islanders have?
Who?
The Islanders.
He's not going to
well,
the Islanders
they have like 10 mil, I think. I'm not sure.
because they're gonna buy out Pajot too.
Oh, they only have 5.8. They don't even have enough to get him right now. Never mind.
God damn. Not even 10 mil. Okay. He's also interested in LA, just to put that out there. Potential Arvidsson replacement, I
There
guess.
was this LEB reporter, I forgot his name. He said there's nothing on the front of Tyler Foley.
Oh, damn. Wouldn't that be tampering?
Hashtag Toronto. Hashtag Toronto.
Let's see. Okay. Jay Gensel. I'm going Tampa.
Tampa.
Regrettably, Tampa Bay.
All right.
It's just a nice place.
Those Brandon Montour. I'm going Utah.
Utah.
I think Treliving makes a hard push and gets Montour.
Oh, all right. Okay, now that you said that, let's make our predictions for our Leafs free agency. Who do we think we're getting?
Zadorov.
Chris Tanev doesn't
Perron.
count, right? Because he's already a Leaf.
Just count him, just for like formality
Sure, Chris
purposes.
Tanev. Regrettably, they will sign David Perron.
Mhm.
Um, I think that second defenseman will either be Brendan Montour or Nikita Zadorov. And I think I'm gonna go bold here. I think they go after Alex Lundberg.
And what about goalie?
Mhm.
Bressois. I don't think the signing still live.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. So you
Okay.
think Bert's walking? Do
Sorry.
you think Bert's walking if they sign Lundberg?
I think Bressois will sign. Like, what would be a good contract for Bressois for you guys? Like 3
Like
mil?
2.5x2. But do you think Tyler Bertuzzi would walk in your scenario?
Mm, no, I think
All right.
Tyler Bertuzzi stays.
Okay. All right.
I
I don't
think the
think I
Leafs
can
have to
work
pick
cap
between
price.
one of Tyler Bertuzzi or Max Domi, and the way the language is going around both of those guys, I think it's going to be Bertuzzi.
All right. Sounds good. Talha, what about you?
All right. Tanev,
Okay.
Zadorov,
Okay.
Brossois. I want Stolars though, and
Okay.
then Domi.
Domi.
Oh my
Okay.
God, super
Very
fan.
interesting. What about Bertuzzi? Do you think Bertuzzi's walking a lot?
I think the math doesn't work. Domi's more affordable. They go Domi.
Okay. I'm going Laurent Brossoit. Tanev, obviously. I think Bertuzzi's coming back. There's way too much smoke there. David Perron, also a lot of smoke there. He loves Craig Berube and Mark Savard as well. Our second defenseman, I do not think it's Zadorov. I think he's going to Nashville. Barry Trotz wants him. So I think it'll be Matua. And who else am I missing? I think that pretty much sums it up, yeah.
David
So
Perron. I gotta talk about David Perron really quick. This
you have
power play
about 30
merchant
seconds to.
that spent a majority of his time with Raymond and Larkin is all of a sudden gonna play on the third line here. He's gonna have like 23 points, gonna be like a -10. And was gonna be like, what happened to David Perron?
Okay, he's a power play merchant, right? I mean, that's what we
He's
need.
not gonna play on our
So,
first power play unit.
well, maybe he should because our power play sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, okay. All right, let's see it under a non Guy Boucher led power play really quick.
we have for years, man. It hasn't
Spencer
been good.
Carberry cooked. Spencer Carberry cooked.
Yeah, he's not here anymore though. Before
And
that,
I
who
think
was
Mark
it? It was
Savard will
Manny
do it.
Malhotra. Horrible. Before that, it was
Okay,
who?
let's be honest. We've hired too many terrorists for this power play coach job. Hopefully, Mark
That's
Savard
the
will save it.
conversation for another time. We'll talk about that July 2nd. So with that being
Yeah.
said, our time's running out. Thank you for listening to our first official episode. We'll have some more content coming out the way on after free agency. We might even do a live stream. So see you guys then, if there is anyone here listening to this. Thank you. Bye.
We will get
Yeah.
better at this.
We will.
Today was very jumbled, but we will get better at this.
All right. Go Leafs go.